According to the mainstream media, Cleophas Malala's letter, by the way, Cleophas Malala is the Secretary General of the UDA party. Cleophas Malala's viral letter is a confirmation of the ongoing implosion within the UDA political party. And of course, the UDA party is part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. Actually, I beg to differ. Okay? In my opinion, not only is there a lot more to that letter than meets the eye, but in fact, that letter was not even crafted by Cleophas Malala in the first place. So, who put together that controversial letter? I'll come back to that in a minute. But I want you to consider the following for a minute. You've been away to faraway China for quite some time, and then you just jet back into the country, and without even taking time to measure the political temperatures in the country you have been away from for so long, you immediately sit down and craft such a statement. Indeed, the implication is that that statement was put together on the plane, on the long flight from China by Malala. If you still see there's nothing wrong with that, then I'm sorry, you don't understand politics. That is not the way things are done. Especially if you are the official of an important political party, important because it is part of the ruling coalition, not important because of the support it enjoys in Kenya. Yeah, actually, it's very minimal, the support this party has. But it is part of the ruling coalition. You don't just land in the country and craft such a statement, hitting out at even the president's closest allies. You don't do that. Not if you want to survive politically. And so what I'm saying, the implosion within UDA is real. It is happening. However, this letter is something different. Okay? And Malala's letter, believe it or not, has William Ruto written all over it. Oh yes. Because the political strategy here is just too clever. Yeah, and indeed, in my opinion, the downfall of President William Ruto will be being too clever. You see, in politics, it is best to keep things simple. When you try to be too clever, it has a way of boomerang back on you. Very badly. But let me slow down. I don't want to lose anybody. Let us slow down and let's take this step by step. Number one, the implosion within UDA, as I've already said, is very real. And it is getting worse by the day, and it is much more widespread than anybody has imagined or envisaged so far. Number two, the Ruto strategy, which is too clever to work, is as follows. The whole objective behind this Malala letter is to portray the false image that what is happening within UDA are just many minor disagreements which can easily be sorted out. Read through the letter again and then step back and you'll clearly see that was the whole idea behind this letter. Why do I say that? I say that because it has confused a lot of people. That the closest allies, those we know are the closest allies to Ruto, have also been mentioned. This has really confused many analysts. But clearly the idea is for you to think that Ruto is above all this. He is still very popular in Mount Kenya, very popular, and any problems in the region can be easily sorted out by taking disciplinary action or threatening to take it against people like Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga and Githunguri legislator Gathoni wa Mushomba. That is the whole idea behind this letter. And meanwhile, people like Oscar Sudi, the Kapsaret legislator, who is seen as a bosom buddy of Ruto, can easily be called to order. And things in UDA go back to normal. That is the idea that is too clever, too smart to work, that is at play here. But what is the reality? The reality is Ruto did not get any votes from the Mount Kenya region. They are not responsible for making him president, and so he is getting irritated by the noise being made in the Mount Kenya region. Virtually all the leaders from that region, including Rogue Gachagua, the deputy president, owe their positions to Ruto. How dare they try anything? And when you listen to Oscar Sudi more closely, you will realize that this is exactly the position. Because in case you didn't know, Oscar Sudi does not open his mouth without thorough consultation with Ruto. When engineer Oscar Sudi speaks, you should know it is Ruto speaking. By the way, for the sake of visitors to Kenya, Bwana Sudi is not an engineer. It is a nickname. And just to prove to you how fed up President Ruto is getting the Mount Kenya region, let me back up a little and remind you of what Ruto himself said about the proposed new UDA policy. Within the party and nationally, from now on, there will be gender balance, starting from the presidency. Therefore, in 2027, if the presidential candidate for UDA is a man, the deputy must be a woman. If the governor is a man, the deputy must be a woman. Now, if that was not a direct hit at Gachagua and the Mount Kenya region, I don't know what is. You see, if you don't know how Ruto operates, then analyzing Kenyan politics for you is going to be impossible. For instance, did you know that Ruto has two inner circles? There is the inner circle closest to him, and then there are those who are being fooled. Ruto makes them believe they are in the inner circle, when actually they are not. They are distant number two. In the real inner circle is Oscar Sudi, Farouk Kibet, and a handful of other people you may not be very familiar with. And some of those names I cannot mention without endangering my source of information, exposing them. And then everybody else is in the other inner circle. Everybody else you think is in the inner circle. People like Kipchumba Murkomen, Senator Cherargei, etc., etc. By the way, there are two more names from the real inner circle that I can release today. Aden Duale, Nurdin Haji. It is my belief that Aden Duale is still in that innermost inner circle, in spite of a recent very serious hiccup between Duale and Ruto, where Duale authorized something that Ruto was not fully aware of. He was only partly aware of it. And those who have taken in my most recent two special reports will be able to put that one together quickly. Anyway, having a Malala statement that slaps Oscar Sudi on the wrist gently is not a problem. After all, the damage has already been done, and continues to be done by Bwana Oscar Sudi in close consultation with you know who. You know, after this viral Malala letter, a comment from one of the founders of the UDA party made me laugh very loudly without control. These were the remarks from Bwana Johnston Muthama. Muthama said that Malala's statement made him very sad, and it was especially sad for founders of the UDA party who founded the party on the foundation of national unity and were very careful to ensure that the foundation would be devoid of political deceit. Now that is very funny, because the very foundation of the UDA party, even what we're discussing right now, is what? Political deceit. That's what it's all about. So where was Malala's letter drafted? It was drafted in the confines of State House, Nairobi, and quickly delivered to Malala moments after he landed back into the country from China. Political deceit, which Muthama claims is nowhere near UDA party, even right from its birth and foundation. Hilarious. You know, I don't remember ever agreeing with Didmas Barasa, the legislator, on anything. And so this one is a first. I totally agree with the Honorable Didmas Barasa concerning his verdict on this Malala letter. What did Bwana Barasa say? He said Malala's letter is hogwash. I totally agree, and I'm sure you'll agree based on the information you have received on my show today. But there is something else, which in my opinion is very explosive and should be of great concern to the UDA party and the Ruto presidency. Indeed, when I came across this information very recently, actually a couple of hours ago, I was shocked. And at first, I did not want to believe it. But on verifying the information, I found that there's too much evidence to support this information being 100% correct. And therefore my advice, if you're standing, is please take a seat. Now, if you have been observant, you will have noticed that there have been a lot of leaks from the UDA party. Dodgy corruption deals have been exposed too quickly. It would seem that there's a mole, an Azimio mole, within UDA. That was my initial conclusion before I came across this information. But it would seem that there are some powerful Western forces deliberately leaking negative information from deep inside UDA. I think now you understand why initially I did not want to believe this information. Because this particular government has very strong backing from some of these powerful forces. President Ruto has only recently returned from a trip to the United States. The US envoy to Kenya, Meg Whitman, is very powerful. So how can this information even begin to make sense? Well, older Kenyans will know, based on history, that ukishikana na wazungu, there will be a lot of things that will happen that will not make sense to you. It is normal, older Kenyans will tell you. And besides, anywhere where there's power, there'll always be factions. Yeah, there'll be people within that system, yeah, who have got their own agenda, who are against the main direction being taken. That has happened right down history. Let me give you a very vivid example. In the 1990s, Western powers were against Moi. They wanted Moi gone, and that was not a secret. However, Moi started getting a lot of support from the Americans. I believe some deals were made, and the Americans were fully backing Moi. Of course, individual politicians would make all kinds of noises, but the official position from Washington was that Moi was an important ally. And then something happened in Kenya. Moi's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Minister, Dr. John Robert Ouko, was murdered. The country was in shock. Kenyans did not have an idea of what had happened, because after all, Ouko was perceived to be very close to Moi. Many times he had traveled to Western countries and strongly defended Moi and his regime. Kenyans had no idea what was going on. And then a document emerged from neighboring Uganda. In those days there was no social media, and I was in Nairobi at the time. And what happened is that somebody was photocopying this document and distributing it widely, even to the press. Now that document gave detailed information on how exactly Ouko was murdered. Ouko had been beaten up, and the vehicle he was being transported in stopped at a petrol station, and a petrol station attendant saw what he was not supposed to see. All those details were in that document. Even the grand finale at Nakuru State House, where Bwana Biwott snatched a firearm and shot the minister, all that information was there. Where did it come from? For older Kenyans who actually saw this document, may I remind you, it was titled Operation Bikini. It was called Bikini because Bikini were the initials of Biwott backwards. Nicholas Kipiator Biwott. He was the main actor in that operation. Where did all this detailed information come from? It came from a foreign intelligence service. Guess from which country? United States of America. What? So back to the present. The leaks are coming from a source that is perceived to be very close to this administration. What? That's a real mystery. Well, not for those who have taken in my very latest special report that zeroes in on the terrible secrets of Uncle Sam in Kenya. Friends, things are not what they seem to be. They are not. And sometimes the verified information coming through can be very confusing. But if you understand the basics, you will never be confused. Now you can see details on your screens right now. For only Kenya shillings 4,999 or $38, you can have not only this very latest highly sensitive special report of mine, but also all the others, all the previous ones that you may have missed. I still have a few slots left, but I guess this is Kipindi cha Lala Salama. I'm guessing that by the time I produce my next video, all the targeted slots will be filled, because this highly sensitive information is for a very limited audience. I know many of us don't understand the nature of handling sensitive information, and to be very honest, I don't expect everybody to understand. Anyway, if you're in a position to, please grab this opportunity and act fast to avoid disappointment. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.